The World Superbike Championship kicks into Italy at the Cremona circuit for round 4 of the 2025 World Superbike season. Green light is about to go on and we will be underway for the first session of the weekend's practice afternoon hours. Hello everybody, welcome up to the commentary box. Away we go then. All systems are launched, all systems are in action, and let's see what we've got to offer. Tyre allocations, the SC1 and the SC2 as well. For rears, SCQ for the qualifying, SCX, the softest, and SCO as well. Rain tyres still here as well. 7 left-hand turns, 6 to the right, total of 13. It's a 2.341 mile circuit. This morning it was a calm session, a few incidents, a few people going down, but other than that, we're in for a truly exciting weekend. Let's turn it over to our commentary team now. Also, over at the team as well, trackside. Jan Montego's trackside. Here's TNT.
But this section here, this infield, this turn 2, turn 3, left-hander, and then after turn 2 and 3 goes right, and you've got to use a lot of the mechanical kind of grip on the side of the tyre. You're on the side of the tyre a long time at this circuit, so the setup, the feeling for the bike underneath you is really critical.
And as you said just a second or two ago, we predicted 3 or 4 crashes between the two of us in this session. I'm now beginning to fear there might be more with these track temperatures, but I very much hope there's not. There's Budiger, the number 11, getting away, having lost all those points at Assen 3 weeks ago. There is an interview coming up with Nicolo in the show this weekend, and he said to me it took 10 days to get over it, and he kept watching the race back on Italian television back home, and every time it got to that 2 laps to go, he had to just switch it off. He said, I couldn't even face watching that back. That's how difficult it was, and just saying that's the worst sort of way to lose a race, even worse than if you've made a mistake of your own, when it's cruelly taken away from you like that twice. Of course, he wasn't leading the Super Bowl race, but still highly up there in second place. So to lose a second and then a win, the worst possible thing, I guess, James, barring injuries, that can actually happen in terms of losing points.
I was talking to Serafino Foti, the manager of the factory Ducati team, and he was saying these days, James, with the technology that we have available, the only way that we should not be finishing races is through a mistake from the rider, not from the bike. And it was quite a poignant thing that he said there, because as we see that the reliability of all the manufacturers now is second to none. We saw, you know, back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, as technology was evolving with the internal combustion engine, with so many parts that could go wrong, they did go wrong. But these days, very, very rare. And happy birthday to Perariba. I think it is today, is it? Or is it yesterday? It's today, isn't it? Happy birthday, Perariba.
Yeah, absolutely. And happy birthday also, thanks for reminding me, James, to Xavi Vieja. He turned 28 on Wednesday. Perariba, one of the nicest guys in the paddock, but also one of the most ruthless guys in the paddock. Of that, there is no doubt. And his man, Alex Lowe's, is about to be overtaken by Axel Bassani, his Bimota teammate. And right behind them there is Ryan Vickers, and he's on the bike that Bassani was riding last year, the Moto Corsa Ducati. Lowe's has got out of the way. Bassani goes through, Vickers goes through. And if you're watching this Cremona circuit for the first time, if you weren't with us for the inauguration of 2024, they're now coming through the Parabolica, and this is Bosco Corner, the long lap penalty lane there on the outside. That's turn 8, and this is that lip now over the crest as Gabriele Ryu goes up the inside of Tara McKenzie, but that's because Taz is pitting on the MIE Honda. Ryu this weekend back in action with the same team he was with last year, the B-Max team, but it's no longer a BMW. He's riding a Ducati for the first time, so his first taste of that bike. Here it is, number 16, the Roman. The first taste of this bike was earlier on in free practice 1. He wasn't quite last, he was 23rd, just ahead of Zakwan Zaidi, Taz McKenzie's teammate. Ryu will be hoping for points this weekend. It's going to be tricky, but if he can get up into that top 15, and you never know, with the sort of attrition we saw in practice earlier on, maybe a point or two could be available for Gabriele this weekend. Yeah,
it seems one of those circuits, doesn't it, that can just suit the underdog sometimes, as we've seen with the results from last year. Obviously a new track, there's not as much data, not as much experience, so it's a bit more of a level playing field for everybody. And is it a horsepower track? Well, you'd have to say a little bit, because obviously this corner here, turn 10, leads onto a kilometre-long straight before turn 11, and we saw the factory Ducati of Alberto Bautista flying past all of those bikes. He went from 13th all the way up to 3rd in that first race, and the advantage down this straight with that amount of horsepower does give you 2 or 3 tenths of a lap. So, but the rest of it, it's a bit kind of the rider can make the difference. So, you know, a game of 2 halves here at this particular circuit. Batin Sofuoglu as I was talking about this morning, this bike was bought aboard by with Bradley Ray and putting it into the side, the top 6. So the team will be hoping that this man here can have a similar result. So far, he is down in 16th place, 1.4 off. That's not too far at this point.
Learning the track to an extent. He did race here last year, but of course that was in World Supersport. Finished 10th in one race, 11th in the other. He knows the circuit, James. He knows the ups and downs at the end of the lap. He knows which way it goes. But how much, to what extent are you still learning the track again on the Superbike compared with Supersport last year, as Vierge now goes quickest?
It's a different track. I mean, the Supersport category, the capacity has moved from the 600s all the way up to, you know, the 900s, 800s and 1000cc. So it might be a little bit less of a jump from the Supersport class to the Superbikes class these days, but it's still, I mean, these bikes have got well over 200 brake horsepower. I mean, they come out of the crate these days with 210, 220 brake horsepower, don't they? So you'd have to put that there's going to be around the 250, 260 mark. And when you come out of this corner here, turn 12 and turn 13, first gear on a factory Ducati, when you open the throttle, there is all of that horsepower. Look at that. You can see how much the electronics kicked him and said to Nicola Bulliger's right hand, no, son, you're not having that amount just yet. And that's what traction control does. It can, you know, it's trying to stop the wheel from spinning, then to save the tyre and find as much grip as possible. And in those tight corners, it's really obvious.
Budiger there, you saw on the speed trap, registered 307 clicks at the end of the back straight. That is about, what, 190, just shy of 190, I believe, miles an hour. This is up through Cremona Corner now. Cremona Corner on the Cremona circuit. It's a bit like the Misano Corner on the Misano circuit, of course. That's the last corner at Misano. We'll be going there later on in the season. Down the back straight now then, and this is where you're hitting pretty much 190 miles an hour. Slam the brakes on. Sit up. We're with Locatelli, our most recent winner in World Superbikes 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that the flap on Locatelli's leathers has not been pushed on, and I'm not sure, because some leathers don't activate the airbag unless it's pressed on with like a press stud. So fingers crossed that's not the case with Andrea Locatelli's leathers, and he will be safe enough if he does have a bit of an off.
This is Bassani up into second place on the new for 2025 Bimotor, a bike they've been working so hard with. Alex Lowe's first tested it, if you remember, after the Barcelona race meeting last year at Catalonia. Well, actually, it was after the Barcelona Grand Prix, after the MotoGP event. They tested there on the Monday. And their test rider at the time, Florian Marino, did so many laps on it as well across all sorts of different circuits in Spain. In particular, last year, we're yet to see it on the podium, but they're getting there all the time. They had a very strong run, if you remember, last time out at Assen, and it was the first time since the Stefan Mertens day that we saw two Bimotors finishing in the top 6. Bassani and Lowe's back at Assen last time out. This is Iannone. Plenty of interesting rumours in the paddock. First of all, more than rumour, the fact that Helete Nieto, with all that Moto2 managerial experience, is now his personal manager, and also this rumour that's beginning to surface that he's being connected with HRC, potentially with Toprak Razgatlioglu for 2026. Now that would be a heck of a lineup, and stranger things have happened.
Yeah, what a lineup that would be. Obviously Honda, they've struggled, haven't they, since HRC came inside the paddock. Nice way from the team there with Go 11, his current team, but it's they need results now, don't they? They've kind of changed suspension from Showa to Ohlins, and from Nissan to Brembo, and they're throwing the kitchen sink at trying to get that Fireblade up to speed. We know how strong it is in the national championships. We saw what Tommy Bridewell did last year. It's up right at the sharp end on any kind of other category that you see at production racing, but at World Superbikes it's still missing a bit of something. So I'm not surprised that HRC are thinking this man here, like he did with BMW, could make a difference and challenge for the podiums and for the championships.
Seems quite calm, doesn't it, as they make some changes to the BMW. Toprak's done 3 laps so far. Most of the other riders have done 4 or 5, so clearly just sat in the pits, ready to go back out very shortly. A mathematical challenge has just come in here. This is a good one for you, James. Cremona is just 150 kilometres by road from Ducati headquarters in Bologna. How long would it take Budiger to get there?
What, on his race bike?
Yes.
What? Depending which road he took, to be honest.
Depending if he abides by the speed laws.
If he's doing the coastal road, which is more scenic for him, you know, it's not going to be the most comfiest ride, though, is it?
Also, how many speeding tickets would he end up with by the time he got there?
Well, he wouldn't speed, would he? He'd obey the law, obviously.
Obviously.
So 150 kilometres, that's what, about about 60. Yeah, I'd say you're looking at a good hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes.
Right, okay, that was from our producer, Martin Cross. For more gold like that, stay tuned. There's another 35 minutes to go here. Sam Lowe's.
I wouldn't want to be on the back, put it that way.
No, you would not, would you? Have you done many pillion rides, and how do you feel as a pro yourself? I mean, I know you like to be in control because nobody likes to be out of control. Is it not terrifying?
Yeah, never. I mean, because I know what I got up to as a rider, so if I was going on the back of someone that was similar-minded to myself, I knew that was high risk. So the most kind of amazing experience that I had was going on Mick Boddis' sidecar at Mallory back in 1997, I think it was. Going down the back straight at Mallory, I hit a pigeon.
Really?
Right? And the pigeon's wing was stuck under my armpit as I went down the straight. We got back into the pits, and you ought to have seen the mess. You can imagine the mess. But yes, I was a bit like Iannone at Phillip Island on the Factory Ducati in MotoGP. I had that on the back of Mick Boddis' sidecar at Mallory. And funnily enough, that was the last time I did that as well.
Poor pigeon. Of course, it was a seagull, wasn't it, for Andrea Iannone? I remember a pigeon being hit by, who was it? Jonas Folger. I remember commentating with Julian Ryder at the time, and it was down the start-finish straight in World Superbikes at Barcelona a few years back, 2020 it was, and Folger hit a pigeon. It's surprising it doesn't happen more. Do you remember at Most a couple of years ago, the first visit to Most, and we had a hare running across the track on the opening lap? That's something that often happens at Silverstone as well, isn't it, on the Grand Prix circuit? So thankfully, it doesn't happen too often. It's sometimes something you can get on street, what is it, groundhogs as well have been hit on the Gilles Villeneuve circuit in Montreal when Formula One goes there. It's one of the many obstacles to avoid, so thankfully nothing like that here at Cremona. Did that hurt, by the way, when the pigeon hit you?
No, not particularly. Look at the leathers on. So, but it was an impact that I'd rather have not had. That is for sure.
I'm sure the pigeon would have said the same thing.
It wasn't such the impact; it was the mess it made. But anyway, moving on. 33 minutes.
On, yeah, absolutely. Remy Gardner has just been off the track. We're hearing down at the end of the back straight. So we had 5 incidents in the session this morning. Bautista now very much on the back foot after his crash this morning. Buliga continuing to lead the way. Now, James talked about the weather this morning. I mean, the track temperature, as we've said, it's nudging officially on 50 degrees, but I'm sure if we ask Pirelli, it probably has surpassed 50 degrees. That is 55.0, by the way, with that sunshine absolutely out in force here today. But now he's going to try and get a race run in, isn't he, for the long races we have at this sort of time of day later this weekend. Yeah,
I was just getting the gears as well yesterday with some of the teams, from the 4-cylinder inlines to the V4s like you're looking at here with Ducati, and I just noticed on the onboard there that Nicola Buliga is changing to first into the second corner, and for other manufacturers it's second gear. So is that going to give the Ducati a little bit more of an advantage, a little bit more engine brake, a little bit more of a poke between turn 2 and turn 3? So I'll keep my eye on that one as well. Toprak Razgatlioglu, where are you? He is all the way down in... Where is Toprak? He's only just gone out. He has, hasn't he? 20 seconds on the second page. That's why I couldn't find him.
Yeah, well, we saw him sat in the garage, some sort of problem. But let's ride on board then here at Cremona with the reigning world champion. This is the late corner at turn 2.
Yeah, turn 2. This is second. And then third. No, just it's a second, that is. So he's doing it in first as well. And then it's third over this crest. And then you keep it third all the way around this turn 4, 5, and then 6 as it tightens up. Second gear out of here. And then third all the way up to fourth gear. Fourth here. And then back down to second for this next right-hander. This is Curva del Lago. As you come out of here in second again, up to third, and then back to second once again for Bosco. This is a great turn 8 as you now fire it out of here. Second, third gear. Look how fast this is in fourth. Just throttling, just under, keep the momentum up, and then have a massive stab on the throttle before you come to this hairpin turn 10. Down to first gear once again. That's Domi Agata just in front. Let's see what the difference is on the BMW to the Yamaha in front. First, second gear, third gear, fourth gear. We get all the way up to 6. Top gear on the Superbikes. Look in the slipstream slightly, but the Yamaha pretty strong down there. Before you go all the way back down to second gear for this left-hander, right-hander, and then into the final corner. Turn 13 first. Oh, just getting a little bit held up there, isn't he, out of this one. Agata not very strong through that section at all, but that's one lap of Cremona. Wonderful circuit. I think Toprak, you know, Greg, he might only be using 5 gears here, and that's why he's able to run first into turn 2.
Incidentally, Sven Blush there, the head of BMW Motorrad, watches on. This is the shortest lap on the calendar. Aragon is the longest. This is the shortest, 3.7 kilometres, 2.3 miles. Just a reminder that live uninterrupted coverage is continuing at the moment on Discovery Plus. If you're watching on TNT Sports, we're going to leave you for a moment, but we will be back with half an hour to go here in Free Practice 1.
Yep, and as things currently stand, as TNT do that, we still don't have all our technological boggins back in order to have it. So, Nicola Bulliger from Bassini, and then we got Lowe's as well, and Sam Bautista, 129.811 coming in there as well. So, already in this session, we're seeing a few improvements now, mainly throughout the weekend. We're going to be taking the world feed throughout the practice. We'll be back for the main races as well, with everyone having a bit of a up and down situation with it being a busy weekend. We're prepping everything else, and we've had loads of technological issues hit us left, right and centre. But this is a wonderfully tricky circuit to get right. It's short and sweet, but I don't know, it's the Italian round of the championship. Maybe we should be racing at Mugello, but everybody seems... Oh, and down has gone Bautista! He's crashed at turn 8. We'll see that shortly on the TV pictures. But Avio Bautista, according to the tracker that you can see here, has gone down at turn 8. That'll bring out the local yellow flags. No sign of it going red at the moment with 28.45 to go. So that's not the best getaway and not the best start coming into it. He's gone down that middle sector in split 2. So as things stand, it's a local yellow. And no need for a red flag, but Bautista has gone down on the deck. I like what Plug says here. Good afternoon to you. Said as well, congratulations, Max and Kelly PK. Welcome a baby girl. We'll have that in the build-up to the Formula 1 show as well. They've Max missed Media Day yesterday in order to go there. But let's go back then over to TNT and let's see what's happened to Nicolo, to Bautista. Here he is. James. So he's dropped it on the front.
Down goes Alvaro Bautista for the second time today. Just a few seconds ago, he's lost the front into Bosco Corner at turn 8. There's his teammate Nicolo Bulliger going through, and I can tell you he's trying to get the bike back into the session, but there's a deep gravel trap over there at Bosco. Because the runoff is so small, they have to have deeper gravel traps here at Cremona, and as you can see for yourself, he's not managed to restart. What a nightmare for the Spaniard. He's already lost a load of practice time, pretty much the whole session this morning. And James Tozen, that really is, you're careful to use the word disaster, but relatively speaking, that is a disaster.
Well, it's at least another 15 minutes lost, isn't it? So all the time, I think he only did 3 out laps with FP2, and then he was pretty much on pace there. He's 4th at the minute, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, number 19, 0.3 off, and so not too far away, but it's just a bit concerning how many times Bautista is finding the deck and not realising just how close to the limit he is with the skill set that he has. That kind of circuit, though, isn't it? With not so much experience on it, you're still learning where you can and can't push over the limit and get away with it.
Well, it was already the rider with the most crashes this season, even before we started this race weekend, so he won't have done that particular unenviable record much good. As 21, that's Zakwan Zaidi coming through the shot. There's Ryu on the B-Max Ducati, and once again, Sam Lowe's. He's getting a lot of laps in, isn't he, so far this afternoon? Alvaro Bautista, minus his left winglet, has rejoined the session.
That bike doesn't look straight.
No, it looks completely bent, doesn't it?
Yeah, honestly, the front wheel and the rear wheel, just going down the straight there, did not look in line. I don't know if we'll be able to get a replay of that, but hopefully one of the engineers, as it didn't look like the bike had tumbled at all. So I'll be very surprised if not. But yeah, it looked like almost like the swinging arm had bent on the rear and it wasn't in line anymore. But as you can see, the damage is minimal because he only lost the foot. But oh no, it doesn't. Oh, don't. It looks a bit skew-whiffed to me. I don't know whether I need to put good a spec savers or what. But I'd be checking the alignment of that V4 Ducati.
Well, it has been down the road twice, but it's a relatively low-speed incident, that one, wasn't it, that we've just seen? But even so, it did tumble over this morning, but that was all sorted. But yeah, what a mess. Let's have a listen. Let's have a listen.
Once again, Alvaro's not accepting that it was his fault. It was as though like the bike is crashing unusually underneath him without a mistake from him. That's kind of the feedback, isn't it? And Julian Ava, his chief engineer, You can see the team there. They are perplexed, aren't they, about the mistakes that the double world champion's making, because this is out of character for him to find himself down in FP1 and FP2 on a Friday and not be the quickest guy is a worry.
Yeah, although sadly, I hate to say, it's not out of character for him to be a bit of a crasher, is it? We've seen this across his career in Grand Prix, to be honest. And remember the infamous 2019 season when he came in and dominated for all those races. He was winning the first 11 and then pretty much threw it away, didn't he, to Jonathan Ray. This is his teammate, Nicolo Budiger. He still leads this session by 0.3 of a second. He's actually not yet improved on his time from this morning. And that's because he's focusing on his race pace. Tommy Raponi there, his crew chief.
Yeah, struggling to hear them there. It was the microphone wasn't very loud at all, but he looks quite relaxed, didn't he, Greg? You know, he was not in any rush to give too much feedback there about the bike. Something was a bit of a kind of like, you know, a diverse thing from this morning to this afternoon, but nothing really to write home about. He must be pretty confident. 0.3 up, so, you know, there's no point in changing something if it doesn't need changing.
James, the track temperature is 50 degrees. What's an ideal sort of track temperature, and why do we get, especially for anyone who's with us for the first time, and if you are, welcome along, why is it so much more slippery when the track is hotter? What's the problem?
It's just the ingredients in asphalt, isn't it? The hotter the asphalt gets, like tarmac, you can see the oils of it. They come to the surface, and also it just becomes softer. Everything is melting, essentially, isn't it? So you're just under softer ground, so everything's moving a bit more. Also, the rubber's a lot hotter, higher temperatures as well as. So the combination of the two kind of elements that are working with each other just gets a little bit slippier under feet.
Here comes Tito Rabat. He actually provisionally went fastest in this session. We were getting all excited about it. Last year, ended up 4th at the end of Friday. Lecuona in 5th place, but as you can see, no one's really lighting up the timing screen at the moment. They're all thinking about the long races. We have a 10-lap Super Pole race, and that'll be the shortest Super Pole race of the whole year, of course, and what is the shortest track. But the long races here, they're all about the same distance in terms of time, but there'll be 23 laps though, so the races with the most laps, obviously, being the shortest track on the calendar. There's one 23-lapper on Saturday, and then another on Sunday. And we'll have to see what happens. But, as James said earlier on, there may even be rain on Sunday. And we've not had rain here at Cremona before. Back at Assen last time out, we had 3 different manufacturers winning for the first time since Most 2023. It was the first time we'd had 3 different marques winning over the 3-race weekend. Could it happen here again, I wonder? Not least if we get different conditions on Sunday. You just never know. It's the sort of conditions that the likes of Toprak here would be looking to benefit from, and it seems unbelievable, but his sprint race win, his Super Pole race win at Assen, was his first race win in wet weather, would you believe, in World Superbikes.
Just looking at Toprak there on another exit. Is he going to be able to get this BMW up to speed? And with a lot of confidence, is just under a second slower than Budiger. 0.919 at the minute is the world champion. It wasn't a bad run this morning, FP2, but obviously without riding last year, they haven't got much data because of a new track, and they are trying to get the setting right for FP2. Did it work? Have they had some problems? Obviously so. They've been in the garage a long time, but it was always going to be a little bit uphill this weekend, wasn't it? But this is another fabulous opportunity for Nicolo Budiger to extend his championship lead, it seems, already.
Yeah, and I think it's also a brilliant opportunity for the likes of Honda to see if they can get in on the mix. Bimotor, are we going to see the first Honda podium of the year? Are we going to see the first Bimotor podium, I wonder, of 2025? I know it's only practice, and I know there's a long way to go, but at the moment, Bassani is up there in 2nd place, and to be honest, he has looked like the more comfortable of the 2 Bimotor riders so far, and sure enough, Bassani is 9th in the championship as Leon Camillo watches on, the rider coach these days for the Elfmark VDS team. He's looking not just for his rider, Sam Lowe's, but also for the others as well. Unlike his good mates and pretty much neighbour in Andorra, Chaz Davis, he's recording different bikes, different riders, and then they've got this amazing technology where they can overlay the lines that the different riders are using. It's something we're seeing more and more as well now online with the likes of Formula One. They're overlaying different laps, looking down from above, onboard cameras, ghost cars, ghost bikes. It's fascinating what they're able to do to see where you're gaining, where you're losing time, and they tend to break it down, don't they, James, to corner entry, mid-corner, and corner exit, and break it all down into different phases at each corner.
It's a fabulous piece of software. You can basically track what different riders are doing, the lines that they're taking, and ghost your rider over what the quickest guy's doing. Lecquona shaking his head out of the last corner. I saw he had a lot of wheel spin out of turn 10 and a hairpin onto the straight, and that will be costing him, again, a lot of wheel spin out of turn 1, backing into turn 2. Once again, the rear of the Honda just does not seem planted and doesn't want to find the grip.
So do you think he was shaking his head there through pure frustration, or is that because they've maybe made a setup change? He knows the team's watching from the pit wall. He's shaking his head to tell them, that didn't work, guys. We need to go back to what we were on before so they can start getting things ready back in the garage?
Possibly a little bit of both, but we know how animated Nico Lecquona is. He's a bit hot-headed, isn't he? But you can see there how much he is sideways compared to going forwards, compared to the other bikes on track. It's hot, though. As we were talking about, the hotter this asphalt gets, the more it kind of gets more slippery under the tyres, and you have to ride differently to try and find the grip. Right then, Toprak, let's see what the bike has. He's 0.6 off, that's a personal best. 0.7 of a second off Bulliger's time, 11th. So let's see if this one is an improvement. Down to first gear, second corner, up to second. Phil Maron is looking on eagerly, isn't it? They are on the back foot. They've been on the back foot all year. The injury to their forefinger in the practice that he had, that was a big injury. Screws in his finger. He hasn't got full movement in there. So he lost a lot of testing time, and ever since being on the back foot with the new bike, not testing enough on the new bike, it's going to be a much tougher job this season, I think, to retain that number 1.
Here's Jonathan Rea. Talking of number 1, of course, he's done that 6 times back-to-back from 2015 to 2020. Who might Toprak stick on the BMW alongside Van der Mark, assuming Van der Mark stays, if Toprak goes to Honda or elsewhere next year? Now, you'd have to say Jonathan Rea would be a good contender. Bassani looks as though he's staying at the moment with BMotor by Kawasaki as he puts in his personal best of the afternoon up there in second place. I just wonder whether we might see him on the podium for the first time this year, and who's going to get that first BMotor podium. There's a lot of interest there as well. But who would you be looking at, James, if Toprak goes? Who are the favourites maybe to take that ride on a BMW? You know, who would want it, and who would BMW actually want?
Well, we were talking about this. You've got to think about who can beat Toprak on a Honda, really, rather than who can replace Toprak on a BMW, because there is no one available that can do the same job, in my opinion, that is available. And then if you just go from the top of the championship down, you know, but BMW would have to entice Nicolo Bulliger across, obviously. Locatelli's third in the championship at the minute, but we know what Locatelli can do compared to Toprak. He's been teammates with him for a couple of years, and he has been behind. I know Locatelli's got a newfound form of confidence at the minute, and he's getting great results, but still, you'd have to say that Toprak would get the better results. So in this championship, at the minute, there's only Nicolo Bulliger.
Well, that's quite a statement then. So BMW, they must be a little bit worried, to put it very mildly indeed. I remember how disappointed and frustrated Paul Denning was and Andrea Dossley when they knew they'd lost Toprak from Yamaha.
Yeah, but there might be a few more options available to beat Toprak on a BMW on a Honda when he's on a Honda. Is that an easier task than trying to beat Toprak on a BMW?
But would you say Honda are going worse now than BMW were when Toprak was first announced as going there? Because no. BMW were struggling big time at that point.
And that's the interesting thing, isn't it? You know, to see Toprak on a Honda next year, to challenge for the championship. Davide Tardozzi here in the paddock. He's the first victor here in World Superbikes back in 1988 on that BMotor. Talking to Daniele, who owns the Fuel Racing team there. Great to have Davide here. Welcome, Davide.
Yeah, hopefully Tardozzi will be with us for the whole weekend. You can maybe grab him, James, during the grid walks. Of course, we're not too far from Borgo Panigale, the Bologna-based headquarters for Ducati. Milan, 1.5 hours away. Bologna, 1.5 hours away. We're, what, 2 hours drive from Venice. Then you've got Pisa, Genoa, Florence and Turin, all within a 2.5 hour drive from here. And it's a great catchment area up here in the north of Italy. That's why we get such massive crowds. And last year we had a doubling up, remember, of the Misano events because of the cancellation of Kazakhstan in MotoGP, and we still had an enormous crowd here. Those grandstands are already pretty busy for practice. They will be packed all across the weekend, and we're going to have to get in very early, James, because there's going to be chaos on the country lanes around here.
It will. And just going back to the chat, just to kind of complete the chat, can Toprak Razgatlioglu win the World Superbike Championship on a Honda?
Yes.
I just love to see him try, because how much have we enjoyed last year seeing do what he did on that BMW that nobody else could. You know, to do that again, I think that's what really entices Toprak over there, because to do that again, really, it just clarifies just what a talent he is and what a difference he can make to any manufacturing World Superbike.
I can't remember who last won the World Superbike title on a Honda, can you? I'm getting it in first before you do, because I know what's coming.
It's that many years ago, even I can't.
Exactly. Have a look at the record box, 2007. I wonder who that possibly could have been.
TNT Sports, powered.
So, as per usual, we've got to wait a little longer as well to TNT back, and the 19's gone down again at turn 2. Right, that's Batista's third crash of the weekend, and every single time TNT have been on an ad break. Well, that is absolutely hilarious. Down has gone Batista, not for him obviously, but for TNT to miss the action both times. Can't even explain what's happened. But down has gone Avio Batista, who was running 4th fastest. He just done a 1:29.811, his fastest time in the session, put in 4th fastest, and now we've got a local yellow flag out of that section of the circuit with 14 minutes to go. 15 minutes before that, he crashed once. There must be something seriously wrong with that bike. Has to be, for this to keep on happening the way it is. Well, yeah, surprise, surprise, I suppose. Bulliger leads from Bastianini. That's wrong. Bulliger leads from Bassini, then Lowe's, Bautista, Lucanello, Petrucci, Razgatlioglu, Lowe's, Vieje, Sofagulu in 10th, Locatelli from Iannone, Redding, Vandermark, Gardner, Mackenzie, Ray. Jonathan Ray back in the championship. How wonderful is it to have him back after being away for a couple of events as well. And the timings just keep changing. It's Zafin Tahadi's down in 24th position. Right, let's go back then and see what's happened this time with yet another crash on the bikes.
James Towsend and Greg Haynes don't really know what to say here at Cremona, because Alvaro Bautista just had another crash. His 3rd crash of the day, his 2nd of the afternoon. James, this time it was turn 2. What on earth is going on?
Yeah, uncharacteristic, isn't it? You know, for a double world champion to make these mistakes is so unusual, especially at these really slow corners like that. That's turn 2. It's like first gear, just tipping it in. You know, FP2 as well. You know, you're not on a qualifying lap. And just to tip it in and just expect that everything's going to be okay and lose the front in that nature, especially when he's pretty fast as well. He's not completely lost, is he? He's only 0.3 off the fastest. Let's see what we can hear. What's Sam saying? Pretty strong consistency, though, from Sam. Look at that. I'll tell you what I think. I think that's pretty good, Sam. That's what I think. The consistency there. 29s, look. 29.4 is the fastest time from Bulliger so far in FP2. And Sam Lowes is doing 29s for fun, it seems. So that's pretty encouraging from the Lincolnshire lad.
I don't want to tempt fate, but could we, A, see at least another podium for him? Could we, B, see Sam Lowes maybe challenging for his first World Superbike win here this weekend?
I hope so. You know, he's had his very first podium, hasn't he? Not the last time out, which that just can spark that inner confidence that you can. And you kind of figure it out. You can figure out how to go fast on a motorcycle for 1 lap pretty quickly. But to figure out how to go fast for 21 laps around this particular circuit consistently within 3 or 4 tenths, which is what you need to do to possibly get a win, that could just spark that belief inside you as well, and I hope it does. It's not going to be easy, this man, though, number 11 on your screen, to beat this weekend. He's in the groove, isn't he? And he looks like he's got a couple of tenths faster than anybody at the minute, so it's, yeah, it's kind of advantage Bulliger at the minute.
Stay tuned, because World Supersport Super Pole is coming up immediately after this session. We can tell you that Alvaro Bautista, having just crashed for the 3rd time today, has rejoined and is currently coasting his way back around the track. I think he's just got into the pit lane. Yes, here he is. I was just looking at our map here in the commentary box. He's back in. Well, what's he going to say this time, I wonder?
Well, you have to come in, don't you, after a crash? So he's obeyed that order as he gets off the bike again. Surely he's not going to fling his arms up in the air unless there is something wrong with the bike. Obviously, I'll take it all back if that is the case, but it didn't look to be. It just looked to be a classic changing from third down to first, turn 2, tip it in, and just too much entry speed. There we go, look, let's see what the body language is. Serafino Fotti's asking questions of the chief engineer. This is not good signs.
Yeah, and the chief engineer is getting a bit agitated, Giulio Nava. Here's a replay. This is the turn 2 crash. This is his 3rd crash of the day, and at 3 different corners as well. Turn 7, turn 8, and now turn 2.
Yeah, that's unusual for Serafino Fotti to ask questions of the chief engineer about what is going on that side of the garage. That is desperate times. I hope what it is, if it is something wrong with the bike, then Bautista being unlucky, like you've never known. But it just looked like rider error again.
Well, everybody getting very hot and bothered. It's certainly a day to get hot and bothered. It's 31 degrees ambient temperature, 50 degrees track temperature. Now, here's Remy Gardner getting on with the programme in the meantime on the GYTR GRT Yamaha, over the line from 17th up to 10th as we move into the last 9.5 minutes of this 45-minute session. This is his team principal, Filippo Conti, watching on. And, of course, we're all very much remembering Mirko Giansanti, the late team owner of GRT. It is indeed Giansanti Racing Team, GRT, and as ever, they're proudly flying his number 32 on the front of those bikes. This is Vierge on one of the 2 factory Hondas. Lecuona on the other one is currently up there in 5th place. Xavi here, the Catalan rider, in 9th position. And at the moment, we've got a very tight pack, actually, haven't we, James? We're just looking at the timing screen. From everyone 3rd downwards from Sam Lowes, we are talking about hundredths and thousandths of a second of difference. This is Montella in the meantime. Jari Montella, 15th, Petrucci's teammate at Barney, but it is so close, and it is going to be so easy to qualify either on the front row of the grid potentially, or all the way down in 15th place. Judging by the times at the moment, that's how close it is.
I'll tell you how close it is. 18 people are within a second. It's almost as impressive as that Tash, to be honest. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Gerloff, who was in 4th place last year in the 2nd race. He's good round here. He's got a lot of confidence round here. He's 18th at the minute, only 0.9 of a second off. And you can just see there, Top Rack just adjusting. Look, on the right-hand side of your screen, that is the front brake adjuster. So he's just winding that just to get the lever to move outwards, so he's got a bit more leverage available on that front brake. That's what Top Rack was doing as he comes down pit lane. But Top Rack at the minute, he is 7th, a half a second off. He's going to have the rides of his life this weekend to just keep at bay those Ducatis, that is for sure. But Axel Bassani on the Bimotor, that is some results so far from Axel.
Just a bit of housekeeping. You can see quite a lot of riders in the pits at the moment, judging by the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen. But people getting in touch. Adam Jones on WhatsApp, this is. I can't remember who the last Honda World Superbike champion was either. I like your style, Adam. Laurie Cadell, who for many years was working on the official programmes here at World Superbikes, and I know Laurie still does at Formula 1 events. That's a funny story with Tozy Mallory. I fell off a Grand Prix sidecar at Mallory a few years before, gone there to drive it, but I just podiumed in Portugal. The driver got precious about it, fair dues, he says. So I had to go on the back instead and slid off at 130 miles an hour. Whoops, he says, poor Mr. Cadell. And James, a message on Instagram earlier on this morning from Dan Tacklebury, and this is about Petrucci's Ducati. He says, hey up, Greg, just a biking UK mechanic dad, World SBK fan here. Lol. Greg, wondering if you and JT, he said that by the way, not me, if you and JT have any idea why Petrucci is running a very strange looking double clutch fluid reservoir on his left handlebar side at Cremona. It was visible on the front rear facing onboard earlier on, yes it was, and any type of shout out was always hugely appreciated. Have a stonking weekend. So there's your shout out, Dan. And James, what's that all about then with the double reservoirs on what is the right hand side as we look from Petrucci's onboard camera, but of course the left hand side for him?
Hi Dan Tackle. Well, it's not double reservoirs for a clutch, it's a reservoir for the clutch and a reservoir for the rear brake, because as you know, some of these riders, they have a rear brake in a scooter position where the clutch is. If you see a lever that's pointing upwards, sometimes, because you don't need the clutch anymore to change up and down, Vierge's got that as well. So as soon as you leave the pits, you don't need the clutch at all until you enter the pits again when you're stopping the bike, because it's all automatic with the automatic changing now. So they have a rear brake, so that's what the double reservoir is on the left-hand side of the handlebar.
Did you ever use anything like a scooter-inspired rear brake or a thumb brake, or that was all after you, wasn't it?
Well, no, not really.
No.
It was Mick Doohan. You know when he had the horrible ankle injury? Yeah, Mick Doohan brought it to the table because he wasn't able to engage the rear brake anymore because his right ankle didn't have any movement hardly in it after that horrendous injury that he sustained at Jerez. He had a thumb brake, and that's when it started. And then you realise that having a thumb brake, as Bautista's going back out again,
we're crossing our fingers here.
Yes, I'm going to see sponsorship for the fairings this weekend, that's for sure. At least they're not far from the factory. They can go back tonight, can't they? Pick a couple of more.
I was going to say, do you think they've got many? I mean, we shouldn't be laughing really, but do you think they've got many left? 3 times he's been down the road already. Goodness sake. Do you know what? I wrote a preview for Motorcycle News, James, this week, and I'm not laughing at the 2-time champion, but I did say, for heaven's sake, Alvaro, don't crash, because he'd had too many crashes so far this season. It's also the first time since 2021, would you believe, that he's not led the championship at this point of the season. Now, we're looking forward from Petrucci, but if we do switch to the other onboard camera, you'll see those double reservoirs. You can just about see them as you look through underneath his underarm there, and he cranks over to one side. Interview with him, as you can see on the World Superbike website, and we have an interview with him as well, and maybe a little bit more that he features in our programme. I won't give too much away, but just keep an eye on our programme this weekend to see some decent acting skills from Danilo Petrucci.
It's difficult to improve on, isn't it, from last year? But the only thing he can do is qualify pole position and 3 wins. So it wasn't the perfect weekend. Even though he had the triple, there is still room for improvement, as there always is. His girlfriend looks on here. But he was a bit nervous yesterday when I was talking about him. He almost didn't like the pressure, because the one thing about achieving everything in life, it's quite daunting, because there's nothing else that you need to. So where do you find the motivation to find what you need to do again? And that's why it's tough at the top, and that's why the multiple champions are incredible people, because they just keep finding it. Look at Marc Marquez after all those operations, and now he's still at the sharp end. Because of that, there is no kind of thing that satisfies that lack of, what is it, contentment. That's the word I'm looking for. There is zero contentment in life for whatever you achieve, even if it's everything, because after everything, you still want more.
So does that make you an incredible person, in your words? Well, you are a multiple champion.
I was able to win 2, but like the people that win 6, like Jonathan Ray or Valentino Rossi winning 9, I take my hat off to him, because I know how difficult it was to finish win 2. I was in the top 3 of World Superbikes for what, 4 or 5 times, so I was close but so far away. But I can't stress to you how much dedication and focus you need as a professional athlete to be the best at the world at something. Not just once, but every single time, even after you've achieved it. That's the impressive thing about it.
Boudica sets the fastest time of the afternoon session so far on a 1:29.2, only 1/10 shy from his best timer this morning, but that was in track temperatures that were, what, 15 degrees cooler than we have right now. It was 35 this morning, 50 right now. Petrucci just unleashes that power. What a great viewing spot those people had there on the bridge, the Pirelli bridge. We look forward again. There's the monkey you can see closest to our camera. He actually has a teddy bear monkey. A teddy bear monkey? No, you can't be a teddy bear monkey. A teddy monkey, stuffed monkey toy thing in his office, which he says resembles himself. Those are his words, not mine, and that's why there's a monkey sticker on the back of his bike. You talk now. I'm going to just have a bit of water.
I think it's time to hand over at that point. Let me have a go at it. Oh, 2 minutes left. Down to first gear, and we're just looking at the board here to see if there's any yellow indicators. There is for Petrucci in the middle split. He's 0.1 off in this first split, but the second split, Petrucci still has room for improvement, which he did on that last lap. It's not been a dominating day for Danilo, has it? He's down in 6. He was second this morning, still in that top 6. And what can happen in FP2? You can make some changes from FP1, and then the changes are so severe that you haven't got the time in this session to change back. So you've just got to put up and shut up, get the checkered flag out the way, and then tomorrow you can then get a compromise with the bike, and hopefully you'll hit the sweet spot tomorrow morning.
Dare I say it, Alvaro Bautista is on his best lap of the session so far. He's in the 3rd sector. He is currently around the Where is he? He's at the Stradivari corner, up to Cremona corner. We're watching his teammate Buliga at the moment through the Quadra section at turns 5 and 6. And Alex Lowe's now has put in the fastest first sector of anybody so far. I wonder whether they are now using the softer tyres. They almost certainly will be using the softer tyres to get some quick laps in at the end of the session. And Bassani as well. Both BMotors are absolutely flying at the moment. Here's Bautista at the end of the back straight through the San Martino corner. Flick it right over that lip, over the brow. Great part of the track here. Down into the Tower corner at turn 13. He's lost a chunk though in sector 3, so that's gone away from him. It's the two BMotors that we need to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. That's not a bad lap, though, from Bautista. After being down a few times in this session, this is the corner that caught him out the last time. He looks a bit more tentative, doesn't he? But here comes Axel Bassani. The chin on the tank. He's lost a 10th. But this is definitely going to cement. Oh, that's the 4th crash, and that's you buying beers, Greg.
Oh, thanks very much for that. Axel Bassani down, a horrible scraping noise, wasn't it? And that's going to bring the yellow flags out for... And Buliga's crashed as well. Nikolai Buliga... No, he hasn't. Here's Buliga. It came up on the graphic saying Buliga crashed. I think they hit the wrong button. It's Bassani. There you go. It's Bassani, not Buliga, just to panic us a little bit more. But that would have brought the yellow flags out for this man, Alex Lowe. So I don't think that time, unfortunately, through no fault of his own, will be allowed to stand because he had to go through the yellow flag section.
Yeah, I'll take your hat off to BMotor. First time here, no settings, no data whatsoever, and they are 2nd and 5th in FP2. That is an outstanding performance from both riders and the manufacturer.
Yeah, that is brilliant, isn't it? And of course, not too far away from their base at Rimini, just outside San Marino. We'll be even closer when we get to Misano later on in the season. Here's Bautista. He's pushing on, but again, for the 2nd lap in a row, he's lost too much time in that sector 3. Where is sector 3, I hear you ask? It's coming into the Stradivari corner and then the majority of the back straight.
Will this just fire him up, though? Sometimes when you have a couple of crashes, silly mistakes like that, it can really focus you. And he's just in a PB there right at the end. And now, will that just give him that kind of... that confirmation that he can go around Cremona at a really good speed without having to risk in the wrong places. Toros Gattioglu does a personal best as well, up to 2nd place on the last lap. That is some lap from the Turk on the BM.
Yeah, a flurry of late changes there. Toprak goes 2nd, Locatelli is 4th, Lecuona is 6th, and here is your championship leading runner and also the session leading runner, and also about to go even quicker by the looks of things over the line. Yes, it is a 1:29.25 for Buliga, a 10th shy of what he did this morning, but comfortably quickest here, whether the track temperature is 35 degrees in the morning or 50 degrees in the afternoon. Buliga is on top, and it's not just single laps either, it's race pace. Is it just going to be problems again, or mistakes, or maybe the rain on Sunday? Because I can't see anything else stopping Buliga at the moment. There's a long way to go, but he's definitely the favourite here.
0.2 of a second. That is a nice, comfortable cushion, and you can see there on this slowdown lap, lifting your visor up and waving to the crowd. It means you've got that kind of comfort zone, haven't you? That cushion, which you don't sometimes have at this level of racing. But Alex Lowe's and Bassani, both BMotors, down pit lane. Fabulous performance from them. Jonathan Ray's just in the background, 1.2 seconds off, that's all. But 21st place for Jonathan Ray. But 1.2 seconds, that is a good effort from the 6-time champ back here after so long off the bike. I'm sure physically, mentally, he's absolutely exhausted, because when you have a few weeks off of these bikes, trying to muscle them, especially around this tight, twisty circuit with so many first gear corners, second gear corners, it is physical around here. So Jonathan, great job. But this is Bassani, turn 13, a little bit too much entry corner speed, and he just went a little bit wide, it seemed, onto the dirty part of the track, and the front tyre just let go. But take nothing away, that was a fabulous result from both the motor riders.
Yeah, he was lucky not to be clattered there by the front wheel as it came back around on him. He's suitably right in the pit lane entrance. That's where he's ended up here. And look how close the tyre barrier is, incidentally, on the outside of that last corner. Alex Lowe's actually hit that wall last year, nothing major, thankfully, as Toprak comes back in 2nd place, and I'm sure there'll be a round of applause, a polite round of applause. And again, they're practicing pit stops because rain is still potentially on the horizon here on Sunday. Let's have a look at the latest forecast. My phone is saying, yes, look at this. Scattered thunderstorms, 36%, whatever that means. Probability, well, who knows, but Monday looks wet. Then you've got rain all the way through the week here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I think we'll be very surprised, James, if we don't see some rain before the end of this event.
And could that save Toprak? and BMW, because in those conditions nobody knows what this track's like, because it was first time last year and it was completely dry all weekend long. We had a bit of rain, didn't we? I think Friday morning when we came, but it dried up, didn't it, before anybody got onto the circuit. So I don't think anybody has any experience here on a wet circuit, and we know what Top Right's like and the BMW's like in the wet as well.
Yes, that is very true. I remember, because we had a massive downpour on the Wednesday last year, and then the...
So that's the end then of the practice session here at Commander. We're back with free practice 3 in Super Bowl tomorrow, as well as race 1. That's at 1:30 British Summer Time. Join us then. But for now, next up on the main JB Motorsports channel, it's F1 Academy and their opening practice session from Miami. We'll see you tomorrow for more action. But Nicola Bulliger topping both sessions. And the man who won here 3 races in a row last year, falling 3 times in 1 session. Let's see what happens later tomorrow. See you later. Bye-bye.